In today's video, we are going to set up a purchase requisition release strategy from scratch. Watch it till the end. Have you seen my last video? It was about SAP External Service Management. Check it out. Also, if you don't want to miss any of these videos again, please subscribe and turn on notifications. Let's talk about purchasing requisition release strategy. You use this component if you wish to set up approval procedures for purchase requisitions. And under such a procedure, if a purchase requisition or an external purchasing document fulfills certain conditions, it has to be approved before it can be processed further. This process of approving a proposed item is replicated in the SAP system by the release procedure. There are two different procedures available for requisitions. Without classifications, in these procedures, requisition can only be released at item level, and it is less flexible. Or with classifications. With these procedures, requisitions can be released both at item level or in total. This approach is also called overall release. In this case, a class with characteristics must have been created for each document. The characteristics values from a requisition are passed to the classification system. The system then checks where the values correspond with release conditions. If so, it assigns a release strategy. The person responsible for the release codes processes the document in the sequence defined in the release strategy. In this case, we can also link to the workflow functionality. Hello, and welcome to another video. As we mentioned, we are going to set up a release strategy with classification for purchase requisition. For that, we are going to create three different characteristics that will be our condition for the releases and one class. In the case of requisitions, our characteristics will be on structure CEBAN. And you can see here all the different fields that we can use. In our case, we are going to use purchasing group, plant, and also the item value. Because we are going to create a strategy at item level. So let's go back and start creating our characteristics under the classification system. So first we're going to create characteristic for plant. With the description PR plant. This is a single value. Data type will be character, and the plant is for number of characters. Then on additional data, we need to mention our structure or table CEBAN, and I will fill that for the plant is works. And we created our first characteristics. Now let's do the same for the second one. This will be for purchasing group. We add a description, and purchasing group is also a character value with a length of 3. And the field is a key GRP. This is also single value. And then the last one, we go for the item value. We add our description. This will be currency with number of chart 13. And let's say this is in euros. And here we're going to use intervals. So we have to set interval values allowed. So in additional data, this will be GSWRT. Okay, and now we have our three characteristics created. Now let's go back and create a class. We're going to call it setItemPR. So description, item PR release. And here we have to call our characteristics. So it will be PR item value, PR purchasing group, and PR plant. Okay, so here we have our three characteristics that are linked to our class. Class is type 032 for release strategies. Okay, this is related to our master data. We are going to start with our customizing. So let's go to our IMG, and under material management, we will see purchase requisitions, and here we have the release procedure. So we go to setup procedure with classification. And these are all the steps that we have to follow. So let's start with the release groups. The release object will be always 1 for purchase requisition. So we have to make a new entry. We're going to use release group 99. And if we check this one, it means that it's overall release for the total document. But we want to create at item level, so we are not going to check this field. And we have to call our class, and we add the description. PR item release. Okay, we create our release group, code 99. So now, let's go to release codes. So these are the codes that we'll be using for our strategies. So we have to make a new entry for our group 99. We can use two codes. So we are going to create 99 code 01 and code 02. Let's say we're going to use two levels. So it will be level 1, and this will be level 2. Okay. Here you have also the option to link your strategy to workflows, but in this video we are not going to cover that topic. Good. Now we save our group with two codes. Release indicators. Here you can define all the indicators that will be included in all the strategies, but we already have some of them created. So for example, we can use like S block. You see everything is unchecked, so basically you cannot do anything. This is block. And then for release, we can use number 2. So once you have this release indicator, the document will be released for quotation and also released for POs. In this case, we are also going to use the changes after start of release process. And we're going to use this option 4 That means that you can change the values and a new release will be determined in case of the new strategy or value change. So we're going to set up a value change of 10%. It means if once the purchase requisition is completed release, there is a change in value that is greater than 10%, then the strategy will be redetermined. And now we can create our release strategy. So let's do new entries, release group 99 and release strategy S1. And we are going to use one level when it is less than 1000. And we're going to use release code 01. So whenever the requisition item is less than 1000, it will be necessary only one level of approval with code 01. So here the requisites are not needed because it's just one level. Now we have to add our statuses. So we can use, we said S for block, or it can also be F, it's the same. Both are set up in the same way. And 2 for requests for quotations or purchase order. And then we have to enter the values for the classification. So here the total value will be less than 1,000 euros. The purchasing group will be just for 001, and it will be done in plant 1000. And here we have a simulation. So release to date is empty, and we want to simulate the release. It says 01 code is possible. So if we make a double click, release already affected, and the result will be that the indicator will be changed to 2. So this is fine. And now let's create another strategy, 99 strategy 2, when it is more than 1000. And here we're going to use two codes, 01 and 02. So the prerequisite, it will be that to be able to release 02, first 01 has to release. We're going to use the same status, so when this is not released, it is still block. When 01 release, it is still block. And only when both levels release, it will be changed. Classification, in this case, it will be more than 1000, purchasing group 001, and plant 1000. We can check the simulation again. So release to date, nothing. And for the final release, we need 2 steps. So if we go to simulate mode, it says that 01 is release possible. The status is still blocked. So after 01 makes the release, the status is still blocked. Then when 02 makes the release, the document will be finally released. And now we save. So now we can check if the strategy is working. So let's go to step-by-step procedure now. Now that we have finished with our customizing, let's go and create some documents. So we go with transaction ME51N to create a purchase requisition. We're going to use material, this one, quantity 100, plant 1000, purchasing group 001. Okay, let's see the evaluation. let's round it to €1. So this is an item of 100 euros. So this is less than 1,000. So you can see that our release strategy was determined, and we have a new tab here in the item. And you see in this case we had release group 99 and release strategy S1 less than 1,000. And the release indicator is F as block. And there is only one level. Then we can create a second item for the same material. Let's do now 1,000 in quantity, same plant and same purchasing group. Okay, now let's go to item 2 and let's do also €1. So now we have a total value for the item of 1,000. In the case of 1,000, you see in the second item we also have the release strategy tab. And in this case, the release strategy determined was S2, more or equal than 100. Okay, sorry, 1,000. The release indicator is still F, but you can see that we have both levels with code 01 and code 02. So we can save this requisition, and we have seen that our release strategy was automatically determined for both cases. Item 1, strategy S1 was determined because it is less than 1,000. And then in item 2, strategy S2 was determined because the item was equal or more than 1,000. And we have our requisition created. Let's take the number. We can use transaction ME54 and for the release, and let's call our requisition. And let's go to change mode. So here we have item 1 with the code 01, it can be released. So I'm going to release it. And now you see the release indicator changed to number 2. And we're going to do the same in the item 2. But here we have two codes. So we have to do it first for code 01. You see the indicator is still F as block. And now when we release for the second level, the release indicator changes to 2, meaning that is release for purchase order. So now we can save it. Okay, now we have our requisition that was released for both items. But let's do some changes. Okay, here we are in requisition number 2 for the item 2. We have our valuation, the total value is 1,000. So here we said if this total value is then changed and exceeded by a 10%, the strategy should be redetermined again. So the total value should be equal or more than 1,100. So let's do 1.5 change in the price. So now the total change in the item was 50%. So you can see here the message saying release already affected will be cancelled. So we go to the release strategy tab, and you see that now all the previous approvals were reset. So we will have to approve this again. but we are not going to save this one, and we are going to call this again. So we have our original requisition still approved for the second item. And if now I make a change of 1.01 in the price, you see now the change is just 1%. So the release strategy in this case was not reset, and it has not to be approved again. So this is the changeability that we have used for the release indicator number 2.
If you like this video, please give a like, share, comment and subscribe. Also turn on notifications. I see you next time. Bye.